And we use a simple diagram to showcase how harmful the system is, and how we can also make sure that we don't pollute the environment, or we don't pollute our communities with some of these things from the waste from our homes, from the public places, and from industries, which as we move on, we'll be able to make sure that we identify some of these things from our homes, from the public places, and then from the industries as we normally come across. So we look at the most preferred option and then the least preferred option. Now, the most, because it's a business model that we're looking at. So we're looking at the preferred option, which is the prevention, and then the least preferred option, which is disposal. And that one, it means that is the least option that anybody at all should consider. So it means it's the last option that you need to consider. So all the waste that we generate from our homes, which include the food, the paper, the plastics, and the rest. And then those that we find in the public spaces, where walking on the streets, all the things that we see there, in our offices, in our schools. We sit in the classrooms, we drink sachet water, we throw away, or bottled water, we leave them anywhere. And then the industries, the fuels that the industries also generate, and some of the waste materials that come from the industries. What are we supposed to do to make sure that our communities are safe for us? They are not harmful. So it means that when we're looking at the most preferred option per this discussion, then we're looking at preventive measures. And what are these preventive measures that we're looking at? So with the preventive measures, we're looking at the strategies that we put to make sure that we achieve a circular economy. We achieve a circular economy. And when we say we achieve a circular economy, what do we mean? It means that is it possible that the waste that we generate, is it possible that we'll be able to add value? We can turn it around so that it can be reused, or can we recycle it, so that in the unlikely event we don't just dispose of them, the volumes of waste, we dispose them indiscriminately, which will affect the natural environment. So what are these preventive measures that we can put in place to make sure that we are able to live safely in our communities? And that is the preventive measure, circular economy business model that we're looking at this afternoon. So we're looking at adding value to any waste that we generate, unless those we know that whatever being the case, you cannot use it to do or to modify it into another system. So if you generate paper, for instance, if you make use of paper, you've written on an A4 sheet, and then you feel like throwing it away. Is there anything that you can do so that it does not end in the environment? Can we to humanity or harm to the environment? This cycle, this paper, so that at least we can convert it into something else to at least earn some kind of money for us. So this is what we're looking at. So the types of waste that we're looking at this afternoon, we look at the domestic waste that we generate from our homes. We look at the commercial waste from public places, private spaces, industrial waste from companies, industries, other general waste, and then the hazardous waste. So these five types of waste is what we're looking at. And how can we develop a model out of these waste? So how do we do that? The first thing that we must consider is how do we handle our waste? Now, waste handling and storage can be done through the following activities. One, general waste handling, hazardous waste handling. And we're looking at general waste. How do we handle our general waste? So if you look at the five types of waste, you have the domestic, hazardous, commercial, industrial, and general. Now you see that they are being set aside for all these kind of waste. So it means that in our various areas of operation, whether at home, whether in the public space or in the office or any space that we find ourselves, it means that we must develop a culture of waste segregation. We must develop a culture of waste segregation. Please, if I'm running fast, you draw my attention so that I'll slow down a bit. Thank you. So we must develop a culture of waste segregation. So, and by waste segregation, what do we mean? How do we separate waste? So, for instance, if you have paper waste at home, let me use the domestic waste. If you have paper at home, or if you have generated waste at home, how do you segregate this waste? Now, this waste that you have generated, do you have paper in it? Do you have uh, plastics in it? Do you have food waste in it? So these three that I've just mentioned, how do you handle them? Do you put all of them together, or you develop a culture of making sure that you separate this waste? So in the normal sense, if you want to handle and store waste for future use, you must have garbage for or bins for you must have bins for all these waste that we have identified. So for instance, you have a small bin for food waste, small bin for paper, and small bin for plastics. In my home, for instance, when my children know that we don't throw plastic waste, we don't mix them with other waste. So they know where we have placed the plastic bin, even though it is not a bin, but it's a rubber that we collect all these things in, so that we can also give it to somebody who will sell to make ends meet. So when they drink water, they know that they are not supposed to mix it with other waste. They know where to place it. Now, if you are able to handle this waste effectively, it means that we'll store them effectively, and then we'll be able to, as discussed earlier, reuse, recycle, or make them profitable, generate income out of it. So, in effect, we are saying that every waste that you generate, no matter where you find yourself, you should know how to handle this waste. In the public places, when you drink sachet water or plastic or bottled water, how do you handle these things? Either you put them in your bags, or if you are driving, you put them in your car. If you sit in my car and you drink water and you throw them out, I'll make sure that I fight with you. If possible, I'll stop and let you pick the rubber, and then we continue the journey. So how do you handle it? Store them so that you can make sure that you reuse these waste that you have just generated. So in the industrial circles, you must make sure that you put various bins there so that you'll be able to make sure that you separate this waste. So in the general way, the point I'm making is that You have the residual waste, which we have waste which can be reused, and then we have which can be recycled, and then we have others which you cannot just recycle. But at the same time, food waste, for instance, which cannot be recycled, can also be used for other things. For instance, if you have a backyard gardening, some of these can be turned into compost for growing your vegetables. The hazardous waste cause harm to the environment. So you have to make sure that you have a labeling for all these that hazardous substances which will cause harm to them. Because if you don't take care, it may affect their health, it may affect the environment, and especially in spaces where you have children. If you don't take care, it may cause harm to them. I took a child to, I know, to a hospital, and then she has been complaining of stomach ache, stomach ache. We took her to a hospital. We did all the nursery scans and the rest, and still she complained. It went down small. They gave her medicine. It went down small. Then it resurfaced. I took her to another hospital. They did another lab test, and then they realized that she has taken something. So I just screenshot the lab results. The hospital was delayed, so I went to a doctor friend who diagnosed and said, "Oh, it means that the small girl has taken feces." How she came in contact with feces, that one there, you and I were not there. But the point is that if you don't mark your places very well, any hazardous substance that you leave, it can be even pins and other things, it may harm any of your children. It may be chemicals, you leave it, a child may drink it, it may cause harm too. Or even chemicals, just as now in Ghana, for instance, I always complain the rate at which we use weedicides to kill weeds. We are killing some of the bacteria in the soil. So the point is that any hazardous substance that you identify, make sure that you identify the being and then dispose of them very well. So on this note, um, what is the work of waste management? Can we identify some of the waste management companies in Ghana or Nigeria, and what are some of the works they do in your country? Per whatever I've explained up to this point, what are some of these waste companies that can be identified in your country, and then what are some of the things they do to ensure that our environment is clean and safe for us all to live in? You can unmute your mic and then tell us. Let me start from home. So Ghana, what are some of the waste management companies here, and what are some
Hello,
of
sir.
the you have seen them doing?
Hello, sir.
Yes, please.
Yeah, in Ghana we have uh, Zoom Lion.
Okay.
Yeah, they are into waste collection, and they also tidy up the public spaces. For instance, markets and what have you, and they collect the waste to allocated places.
Axis, Zoom Lion that you have identified, do they segregate the waste or they pick them in bulk? Do they
They
have
zoom in.
clear marked bins for the waste?
Ideally, I think I once went partook in their workshop and they were saying that's of a kind. However, since the masses are not very much abreast with what they intend, for now they don't do waste segregations, unlike medical waste agencies that I know around. For them, they do waste segregation. They have pathological waste, they have medical waste, infectious waste, and general waste.
What are some of these? Which company does that in Ghana?
There is one we call Ghana Medical Waste.
Okay.
Ghana Medical Waste. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Please, who else? Ghana again before I go to Nigeria. Please, Ghana. Any other place that you can identify, or any waste management company operating in your area? Hey, so we have only one, or okay, two. You made mention of medical waste. Only two. Okay, so let's move to Nigeria. Nigeria, can you identify some of these companies?
Hello, sir.
Yes, please.
Okay, this is Femi from Nigeria. We have Loma itself. They do a very great job in collecting these wastes and also even helping out other PSP to go about this business smoothly.
Okay. Nigeria, please, any other?
Hello?
Nigeria, please, any other? Yes.
Hello? Hello, can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Good evening, sir. This is Menu Atisha calling from Enugu, Nigeria.
Okay.
We also have Swama. So that the one in charge in taking waste from the states, the sub-region
Sir,
of Nigeria.
we can't hear you well.
I said we also have in Nigeria SWAMA, Enugu
O-
State Waste Management Agency.
Okay.
They are the ones started with the responsibility of managing waste in the sub-region of Nigeria.
Okay. All right. So in Ghana, we have other waste companies like Jekura Ventures, who are into recycling services. We have the recycle plastic, and then they're also into compost, and then they also produce fuel briquettes and Zoom Lion, as has been mentioned. They have Ecovan team who also um, develops packaging materials from waste. Coconut waste they produce. Once in Accra here, some if you go to some communities, they use the coconut waste to fill bottles. Some companies buy and they use it to produce package materials. And they have Maypat, who also recycles plastics um, into pavement blocks and then pillars and the rest for building. Then we have other individuals who are not registered entities, but some individuals who also use the plastic, the sachet rubber, some even to develop raincoats. I've seen this young lady who used sachet rubber to produce raincoats and then to sew dresses and then to also um, use it for wallets and the rest. And one lady too who used the the bottles, water bottles to produce armrests, coffee tables, and the rest. So in Ghana, these are some of the things that I have seen people using waste products for. A friend of mine approached me who also want to use the same coconut husk for charcoal briquettes, which will last if you are using to cook. It is smokeless and it lasts very long. In Nigeria, just as our brothers mentioned, some of the companies that are also identified in Nigeria include, if I don't mention the name right, please give me, because I've not even eaten this afternoon. So, Ubobio Esso Solutions will transform organic waste into renewable energy and organic fertilizer. We also have Intellicity Technology Energy Limited, which uh, um, also use waste to produce household energy system that there is from plastic waste. And they have Green Hill Recycling Limited, add value to waste for other services. So in effect, we are saying that if we want to manage waste effectively, then we want to ensure that we turn around this waste for effective use. So for effective management of waste by waste management companies, we are saying that we have efficient utilization of resources, both human and and also have compliance with local, national, and international regulations. So if we effectively manage our waste in our various communities, then it means that we will comply with both with all the regulations and standards of operation within our catchment areas. Then also look at mitigation of risks for minimization of potential disruptions and making sure that we meet customer satisfaction as far as you're able to manage our effectively. But we know in all these things, we have challenges. We have challenges that waste management businesses go through, and that one is a fact that that's why most of the time even people don't want to go into these businesses. One, adherence to constantly evolving waste management regulations and standards. So just as I said earlier, and that is why I asked my friend who spoke about Zoom Lion whether we have when they go for the waste, consider work. Education sensitization has not gone down well with people. That is why people are not able to segregate their waste. Even people just throw their waste anywhere, anyhow. In Accra here, you go to when it rains, that is cocoa season for people who have ordered the waste in their homes. This is the time that they wait small, and then when it starts raining heavily, they'll come and throw the waste into the water, which choke our gutters and cause flooding. So people still don't understand why they should keep the waste in the first place. Two, why they should segregate the waste. Segregating for what? That's the question that they will ask. And if they throw the waste away, they will and you talk about it, they will ask you questions like, is this where you sleep? So if we are not able to adhere to standards and segregate the waste effectively, it's difficult for us to reuse or recycle. Because if you mix paper with food waste, how can you differentiate between the paper and then the food waste? It means you have to combine everything and then go and dump them somewhere. And that is why Accra is still filthy. And Odo River or will continue to be Odo as it is. Then integration of new technologies. People are not able to develop new technologies to add value to waste. But thank God, gradually, people are coming out of innovative ideas, innovative machines to make sure that they add value to this waste. This lady I'm talking about who uses the plastic bottles for armrest and then coffee tables and the rest. She also uses um, ties from vehicle ties to produce center table, to produce chairs. In fact, we are planning to engage her so that we can produce some of these things for our offices so that it will serve as innovative venture for especially the youth to venture into some of these things. Then community opposition and public resistance to new projects such as landfills. When you want to develop landfills to at least dispose of the hazardous waste, it also becomes a challenge for some community members and the resistance that thereof. So it also creates problems for us.
Hello, sir. It seems
Yes,
the screen is no more showing. I don't know if it's only from my end.
please, can somebody also, because for me, it's showing.
It's
Size from
showing.
his
I
end,
can really
please. You
see
can
it.
continue.
And then is that, please, the one complaining, check your system. Then limited access to funding, equipment, and skilled labor. So, and funding is the key issue here. Um, it's difficult to come by, especially with the youth who don't have collateral. It's difficult for us to come by funding for some of these things, for these innovative ideas when we conceal them. When we have this idea to add value to waste, getting money to add value is a challenge. But thank God, in Ghana, I think now people are getting the buy into the idea, and especially addressing climate change. People are now buying into the idea and supporting few youth who have innovative idea to add value to waste. So funding is a challenge. Getting a modern equipment is also another factor. For instance, my young guy who approached me for us to establish a charcoal briquette factory. If you look at the equipment that he needs, it makes it's expensive and it's quoted in dollars. So we need to assist him to get the equipment so that he can add value to coconut waste to produce charcoal briquette. And then there's skilled labor. If you get the skilled labor, who is there to manage it? It means we need to make sure that we we train somebody on these some of these things. Illegal dumping of waste and environmental pollution. That one there, everybody knows that everywhere you go, there is waste, especially those of us who live in the city. Those small tricycles who even moves from one community to another, they pick the waste, they don't cover it well, and then as they move along, they spread it along the street. Sometimes too, they even their vehicle break down and they leave them there for days, and then the waste drops on the street, and so we are not able to at least make good use of some of these things that we're looking at. The highly competitive waste management industry with numerous players vying for market share and contracts. So because we generate a lot of waste and we don't know how to add value to what we generate. Now, people are taking advantage of it. So people are now setting up a lot of companies to collect this waste. And and it becomes a waste that petition, and at the end of the day, you see so many of them. And if we don't take care, time will come that we have all these companies coming up in the name of collecting the waste. But the end of reusing, recycling, prevention, we may not achieve that. So these are, and then effective sorting, recycling, and then disposal, as I've management important. And this is a question that I want the class to help me answer. Per what I have taken you through up to this stage, the question I ask is why
erosion when there is rain.
Thank you very much. You are right. You are very right. Please, any other? It's a discussion. I put here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've seen one person has responded. Please, any other? We are many here, so let us all come out with our points. Is it necessary for us to manage the waste in your community?
Okay, so I think Femi
Yes, sir.
Falana is
We are
using
only
his hand.
male voices. Our female, you generate a lot of waste, but you are not talking.
Yes, sir. My name is also Amponsa. Waste management is very important because some of the waste, when they are left uncovered, when they are left to the environment straight away, they are very hazardous. That means it is very harmful to us as humans. So if we don't
For me, I'm a gender person, so our females, please help us out. Okay, who else? If our ladies are not coming, please, who else will help us? Gentlemen, let us continue. We want our environment to be free of harm. So, please, what else can we say? Is it good to manage? Is it important to manage waste? And why? What benefit do we derive when we manage waste?
Hello.
Hi.
So I'm coming again. One of the benefits is also climate change.
Okay.
As we used to burn waste, but when we manage the waste,
Okay, thank you very much. So we are saying that waste management is very, very essential in our day-to-day activities, in wherever we find ourselves. Waste management is very, very essential because, for instance, you may think that those of us in Accra, as soon as it rains, and then we are finding places to hide. Just as yesterday, small water or small rains, then people could not move because some of the places were flooded. So, but if you are in Kumasi and your family members are in Accra, you should show concern. So, it's essential for us to manage waste. If you look at if you live at Ibadan and your family members are in Lagos or Abuja, and you are not concerned about waste management situation over there, what happens when there is a pandemic or if there's any disease outbreak in these areas? What happens? So it reduces waste for disposal, save space in landfills, and conserve natural resources. So if you're able to manage the waste effectively, it means that our waste disposal will be minimal. For instance, if you carry a bin of waste and um, you are charged maybe 5 Ghana cedis or 5 Naira, it means that when it's reduced, probably the charge will be less. So if we are able to manage our waste effectively, and we know how to add value to our waste, it means that the the one that we dispose of will be minimal. So, for instance, if you have a backyard garden and you have decided that, oh, every food waste that you generate, you even use it as compost for your backyard garden, and every other materials that you are going to use, or if it's possible to put it into the soil to also serve as manure, at least you have reduced the size of waste that to be disposed of, which will harm the environment as well. And then it's also, which means that definitely we are going to save space at various landfills so that we'll be able to conserve our natural resources. So it means that we'll not throw these plastic products onto the soil, which will harm the soil, and also which will also harm the environment, and other ways which will harm the environment. And as somebody said, if you want to address climate change issues too, it also reduces the greenhouse gas emissions and prevents soil and water pollution. Just as now I go to my hometown and then it's difficult for me to get water because all the water bodies have been polluted. So it's difficult for them to pump. But anyway, other are also a factor. And there's also mitigation health risk and living environment for generations. Is felt in this community. So we organize as a part of our anniversary to clean the community. In fact, Zoomline was there, fire service was there, youth groups were there. They cleaned the streets. Fire service brought their tankers, we flashed the gutters, everything. Oh, in fact, if they ask you to sit there and eat, cry, you eat. What happened afterwards? The next day, when I intentionally drove there to check, and they have started throwing garbage. Beloved, so what we are trying to say is that waste management is key, especially now that we want to at least sustain and improve on our circular economy. If we want to provide some form of skills, create social enterprise out of some of these things, this waste to generate in our homes, in our workplaces, in the communities, industries, and the rest, then it means that we must look at how to reduce the size of waste that we generate. And how do we do that? We do that by adding value, segregating the waste. Those that we can add value, we reuse or recycle or turn it into another form of material, energy, or any other thing that can serve a good purpose for us. And if we're able to do that, it means that our environment, our communities will be heaven for all of us, and will be able to make sure that we live peaceably. In Accra, lastly, in Accra, for instance, we have uh, between Choco and Kolegono, we used to have a place where they dispose of sewage, and that place was called Lavender Hill. In fact, even when you are driving and you roll in your glasses, the scent will enter the car. So it's better for you to leave it open. But a company came up and decided to add value. So now, instead of them throwing the sewage directly into the sea, they have now decided set up a company. They are adding value to the sewage. They are turning into other things else. So as we enter into the waste management system, or waste management, or we consider waste management as an enterprise, then we need to develop innovative ways, innovative strategies, which will help us in a small way to make sure that even if we cannot add value, we'll be able to segregate for other people to add value to them, so that we'll be able to manage our waste very well in our places. I'll pause here and then open the floor for any question, comments, and discussion. Thank you very much. Please, if you have any question, comments, you can unmute and then you bring it up. Because when I finish engaging people and there's no question, there's no comment, it means that I've confused you.
Very clear, very insightful presentation.
So any question, comment?
Yeah. So yeah, we have discussed a lot of these things over the past weeks that we started this whole thing. And I think back to waste management, the structures of the various public sectors involved should be working, especially with the sensitization of the masses. If the masses are sensitized enough, if we are well informed, I think even how we dispose our kitchen waste, among others, will be the best that we all require. Else, like you said, when it is time for flooding and what have you, or when it is raining, it is then that people open their WCs dispose of their waste and what have you, and in the long run go to talk at one end and comes back to hit the society. So we would once again insist that surging forward as individuals, we should do our honest part, take care of our waste in our various homes, in our various offices, wherever we find ourselves. However, granted, at church services, wherever we also find ourselves, we should teach people, we should sensitize people about how and what best they can do to help manage their waste. And by, I think we will go a long way to helping ourselves as society, as a community, while the agencies responsible should also come in and help sensitize the masses about the need for waste management.
Thank you very much. Please, any other comments, question, discussion? Hi.
Okay, thank you everyone. I think one very important thing that we are doing during this time is pay more attention to waste management more closely than ever before. You know, we can just walk away carelessly, not minding whatever anybody. But now that we know waste management is not be affected, we see more opportunity the way we can integrate ourselves solving waste problems. We not just walk away and think nothing is happening because there's waste almost everywhere.
Thank you very much. Please, any other? Any other waste management? This is as teachers, what we do is that so we learn from the known to the unknown. So technically, this is a recap of what we have done in the past weeks as we veered into the business model itself. So we refresh your memory, and then we veered into the business model itself. But today we will not weigh into that. So we have given you this. If you have any, Jessica Bedu, you have raised your hand. Please let your comment come. Is Jessica here? Or Sunday? Or it's an old hand? Anyway,
Okay, sir. Please, can
okay.
you elaborate us on how we can recycle the general waste?
How we can recycle the general waste?
Yeah, as type of the wasting.
So you are Jessica Bedu. Yeah. So who can help our brother? How can we recycle the general waste? Is there a way to recycle the general waste? Who can help our brother? Yes, who can help our brother? Or nobody?
Okay, from what we have discussed, I think for the general waste itself, you need to segregate because it's a mixture of rubbers, mixture of other stuffs. So the more you segregate, you take out line components, for instance, the rubbers, then you can recycle the rubbers alone. there might be biodegradable materials in them. You segregate them. You can also recycle the biodegradable materials alone. So for the general waste itself, we must first segregate so that when you get individual components, then you know what you can think of. For instance, our facilitator made mention of a lady into other objects. It is because the tire is not mixed with other components. So before you can think recycling the general waste, you must segregate them and put them into light matter so that you can put them into use.
Thank you very much. So, if you want to make use of any waste material that you have, the key word here is that you have to segregate the waste. If you don't segregate, you may even have some hazardous waste in it that you may not know. So make sure that you segregate and if you're able to segregate, just as I said, if you have paper, you have plastic, you have wood, and the rest. How do you reuse all these combinations? And then you have food waste. How do you reuse all these things? So what you need to do is that you must segregate the waste, and then what you can use the plastic for, you use it. What you can use the paper for, you use it. What you can use the how do you call it? Um, the food waste for, you use it. I quite remember back in the secondary schools, SPPC, Super Paper Product Company, I used to visit schools, industries, and the rest and pick paper waste, and then they use it to produce toilet roll. And if they produce the toilet roll, they look at schools we supported them, and then they donate some of these toilet rolls to these schools. I think now I don't know whether they are still in operation or not. So these are some of the things that you need to do so that you can reuse the waste that you identify. I don't know if you are answered correctly. Please, any other?
Okay, hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Okay. I first and foremost, I want to thank you for this privilege and every other facilitators that have taken us so far throughout this program. I appreciate the organizers, the Grievets, and the EU as well. I think we've learned a lot through this program concerning the environment and the management of waste generally. Going forward, I just want to put this together in form of a question, and particularly to you and perhaps the organizers. You see, with what we've learned so far, I noticed that the business of waste management is capital intensive and very, very expensive. I want to know, but I want to ask, for some of us that are really interested in keying into these environmental activities, for beginners, it's a bit difficult for us to break through. We've seen even in your lecture today that some of the challenges that involves in waste management, which is funding. And for us that are really interested to move on or to pick a career in the environmental sector, I want to ask, of how easy will it be for us to penetrate into the sector, then how much assistance can we get apart from the government? Because, like you also said earlier, see, getting funds from the government is very difficult and it's not easy. And in every area of this management, money is required. Either if you want to run this as an individual, as a personal business, or even as a team that wants to run it as a business. I don't know. We've learned a lot. We want to go into the field. We want to practice what we've learned. How do you think we that are really interested to key into this can thrive? How do we start? Or maybe there are employment opportunities that we can key into so that we can also acquire more knowledge, more experience, and all of that. So this is just my question because I'm sure for some of us that has been here, we've gathered a lot of experience, we've gathered a lot of things. But starting up, it's a very big challenge for us because this field is so big, it's so wide, and it's capital intensive, like I said earlier. So how do we make use of what we've learned so far to put it into practice and also how we can contribute to our quarters in keeping the environment clean for ourselves and for future generations. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Sandy. Yes, it's very, very necessary that you are able to mobilize some kind of capital before you start or you venture into some of these social enterprise activities. But we must also know that some of these innovative ideas, if you're able to conceive them, if you're able to um, come out with some of these things and people see the innovation, just as I saw in some people. We went for a program, and as part of the training, this lady showcased some of these things. And all the wallets that she brought, you can just put your phone into it. When it rains, water will not get into your phone. Why? Because she has used sachet water to to protect the case in such a way that when it rains, your phone, your money, nothing will happen to it. So if you have such innovative ideas, say that she brought just a few wallets, about 10, and all got finished. You see, so you can start small, and when you start small and people see it, people will order, and then you can even produce more and supply. You take your money and then you supply to these people. Apart from that, there's also a component as part of this training because where we'll take you through business planning, how to develop business plan and strategy. Because most of these people who want to support such enterprises want to see your plan. So, what is your plan? What is your model? What if I give you 20,000 naira to start something? How are you going to utilize the funds? So we also, as part of this planning, as part of this process, we take you through this business management planning model and strategies to attract funding from. We are fortunate here because we have some banks and institutions, NGOs who have teamed up and then trying to support such initiatives. Unfortunately, most youth are not coming up for some of these things. But for those in Ghana, those who are able to reach out to some of us, will be able to link them up to such services. I know Nigeria can also identify some of these things. You can talk to the Christian NGOs like the Christian Aid, talk to the Christian Council of Nigeria, And then you can also approach some of the banks to see if they have such facilities. Because before I left for this training, even um, EcoBank group, one person came to see me that they want to support women farmers with small loans, with a little interest on it. See, so there are other things, facilities available to explore. Fair enough. You have the resources to you start be fair, but the little resources that you have, what effort are you what effort are you taking? How are you utilizing the little resources that you have so that to be able to earn more and then get more support for your enterprise? Thank you very much. So on this note, I think we've spent quite some time. We spent about 1.5 hours. So
Good afternoon. Hello, good evening.
yeah, Elizabeth.
Yes, please, before you leave, I would just like to also comment on some of these questions, if I am
Okay,
permitted.
sure.
So on the first question on how to recycle waste, I think I have these additions to that. Aside from separating and then into the different categories and then recycling them as individual products, there are also technologies that take all of these materials and then usually we call it conversion. They take all of these materials and then convert them to most often energy. So there's waste conversion to energy. There are technologies, pyrolysis, gasification technologies that use all forms of waste. Based on the scientific fact that yes, there are a little bit of energy embedded in every material. So what they tend to do is put all of them together and extract those energy and then to produce electricity. So that's by the way. And also we have a technology that use the combustible part of the waste to reference derived fuels. And these are fuels that are used the cement kilns. So we have that in Nigeria currently. We are partnering with what's the name of this cement? Lafarge, to convert some of our Lafarge is the country that manufactures cement. So it takes the combustible waste and then convert them to refuse derived fuels. And this is a mix of different waste streams that are combustible. So that's just to add to that. And also on starting up, like we when we talked about the green waste management, I'm sure we talked about some of these things, some of the things that can be done. And then I think in that part, we also talked about consultancy and we talked about technology. So I'm saying this because, yes, it's capital intensive and it requires space. Waste management requires space. Aside from the money, you need to have ample space to be able to carry out waste operations. So, but there are some things now, thanks to COVID and then the new normal that people now work from home. So we can be involved in waste consultancy. That is if we have enough knowledge to dive into that. We have another class, and we just ended the second class, and one of the things, one of the questions raised by participants is how to start a training and consultancy firm in waste management. So these are some of the things that can be done that will not that does not require as much capital. And then there's the technology part. You can develop people in Nigeria that have developed waste management app, recycling apps that you can use to track your waste collection, automation of waste management system. This also can be done from the comfort of your homes. And then we have also, you can also come together as cooperatives. So these are some of the things that can help with startups. You can come together, form a cooperative, and then acquire your the startup capital or the land that will be used. Then also, there are a lot of grants. I want to say there are a lot of grants available for people in this environment and circular economy or sustainability sector. So we can explore all those options as well, like I said. And in Nigeria, what we have is the Bank of Industries. The Bank of Industries, once you have a proof of concept, and then they are able to buy into your proposal. Yes, they give grants and they give loans. So that is done through the Bank of Industry. And then there are a lot of other stuff aside from, so for to start with, the example you gave is on upcycling. You can start by upcycling, the conversion of some and all of that. So those are things that you can do from your home. You can do a lot of craft, waste craft with bottles, and then by the time you are showcasing them, you'll be getting people's attraction, and then you can start to make money from those business. So those are just my contribution.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. So we've heard all.
Hello, sir.
Yes, Noah.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir, for noting my name. My own is not really a question, it's a contribution on the aspect of young government. Let's take Loma as a government agency in Lagos. The waste collectors, the way they dump or the way they create their dumping sites is alarming. When you go to your backyard, you will see a range of dumping sites for our brothers, for our Hausa brothers. See them dumping so many refuse in the name of doing waste business. So I think it's time to regulate this activity because it's bringing on board both human to health hazards. When I visited one of the dumps, I saw that the life there is too stressful. People don't have a good air to breathe, no sanitized environment to stay, no control. They do things at their way. Even the dump site they do things it's not turning to a garbage dump. It's not turning to a nuisance to the environment. You can't even pass there without covering your nose. But business is going on there. Tax forces from government agencies are picking up money from there. Government is even taking money from there. Why people are suffering? The way they collect this refuse from homes along the road, even the people who are collecting this refuse, their health should be also taken care of. Even there should be reorientation of how to collect this waste. Some of them doing this collection should be helped. They are not really in the right side of mind to do this work. Most of them are suffering very, very hard. So what I'm saying is that governments like the government should come into this, maybe shut down some illegal or indiscriminate dump sites, create their own so that they have their personnel there, so that they have law and order, so that they can regulate how activities are done at dump. So that there shouldn't be why we want to do our waste management that will cause disease that might not be controlled. That's my own submission, sir.
All right, thank you very much. It means that all of us have a lot to do, so we need to continue. Just as we have been capacitated, we need to make sure that we go to our communities, anywhere we find ourselves, to propagate the gospel according to Green Vet Africa, and for that matter, the gospel according to waste management, so that collectively we will be able to ensure a clean environment. So we must make sure that we do our best. I will pause here and continue tomorrow. So I want you to identify when in your various homes, identify at least a waste management tool or mechanism that you will do as a student. Identify a waste management that you put in place to have maximum strategy in our communities. So that is your take home. Tomorrow, all of you will help us to at least identify these strategies that you have you thought through, and then we'll continue tomorrow. So as I said, tomorrow we'll continue and we'll do the business planning session. If we think that waste management is something that we should address, then how do we go about it? I want to develop a business out of it. How do we develop a business out of it? So we'll look at the business planning and the strategy. So let us prepare ourselves for that. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your screens this evening. Elizabeth, is there any announcement?
Not